Hey everyone, I haven't made a Trace Elliot video for some time, so I've had a couple of purchases in the last year, so I thought I'd catch up and make a couple of videos on those. So I bought this one, which is a Series 6 GP7, and also this one at the bottom, which is a GP7 SM. This is the AH350, so that's quite a powerful little amp there. That's pretty cool. Today I'm going to look at this old Series 6, and we might compare and contrast it with the big old Series 6 that I've got here as well. So I've got my trusty screwdriver. Let's have a look and see what this amp is all about. Okay, so just looking at the front panel of the Series 6, this is actually quite a very basic model. So the GP7 had a lot less features than the bigger GP12. So you see you get an input gain with the overload flashing light there, and we've got separate inputs for passive and active bass. We've got the classic mid pre-shape in or out, so that's the old Trace Elliot pre-shape. You can see we've got the 7-band graphic, which you can also switch in or out. We have an effects loop. We have a line in and out, where you can line in your own preamp by the looks of it. I also got a headphones out, so you can use this amp for quiet practice as well, which is pretty cool when you think this was out sort of very early 90s. Maybe they might have just scraped in the tail end of the 80s, but certainly very early 90s, this amp. Okay, so here we are at the back of the amp, and you can see there's not a lot here at all. We've got the on-off switch. We've got two speaker inputs. Minimum load is 4 ohms for this particular amp. Now, most trace cabs are 8 ohms, which means you can run 2 trace cabs into this one single amp, and you can chain them together, or you can just plug them in separately into these connectors here. There's a couple of fuses, one for the mains, one for the speakers, and then this huge heatsink, and that's your lot. So really quite basic for a Trace Elliot. Okay, so let's crack it open and have a look inside. Now, I did just want to mention, I took a video when I first got hold of the amplifier, and I'll show a little clip of it here. And you can see it came with this old cab, which is a Zap eliminator cab. These were actually made here in Perth by a company called Zap Music, which I believe is a shop. Now, both of the Trace Elliots that I bought recently both came with Zap cabs. I sold the cabs because I don't need them, and I've got 2 Trace Elliot cabs already. But they are a sort of a classic Perth provider, and they're supposed to be pretty good. They did sound not too bad actually, but I didn't have a use for them, and it just means that the purchase of these 2 amplifiers after I'd sold the cabs were both extremely cheap. So yeah, and again, cheap is always good in my opinion, because these things are old and they will break eventually, hence I'm collecting them and stockpiling them here. Okay, so we're in. It took me a while to get it open. The chassis was actually stuck and being held into the cabinet with the corners then a little bit misshapen, so it was a little bit of a game to get it out. But we're here, so we can see that this amp was built in 21st of June 1993. Tested by Steve, so that's interesting. And you see over on this side here at the back, connected to that big heatsink, we've got those 2 big power transistors there. These were fairly low powered amplifiers, so I'm thinking this is either going to be a 100 watt or a 200 watt. And looking at this and looking at the space there, given that there's only 2 of those, I would suggest that it is most likely a 100 watt amplifier. Although, as we know, most of these traces are a little bit more powerful than that. See the capacitors there, they're obviously original because they've still got the factory sticker on. It was made in '93. This amp actually runs pretty great, although you can see here someone has been in, they've done a bit of writing on there, and you can see there's some scorch marks, so there's probably been a few things replaced over the years in here. Down here as well. Okay, and you know, if we go over, another thing is obviously the transformer here. That's quite small compared to most traces I've seen that have those big toroidal power supplies in them. So again, that would lead me to believe it's quite low powered, and I can indeed see that it says AH100 on there. Now, I did have an old combo, but it was in the SM range, and that was a 130. I didn't think they made a 130 in the Series 6. I think they sold them as 100s and 200s, but I could be wrong on that. Okay, so over on here, again, you can see this is the preamp board. So preamp is really where all the tone comes from. Most of these Trace Elliots of this era were designed by Clive Button, and you can search him up on the internet if you want to find out a little bit more about his design works. He was a contract electronics designer that Trace used, and he had a lot of input into these. On the corner of the board, you might just be able to see there the words link for AH100. So that indeed would say that it comes in 2 versions. I can't see if it's linked because I can't get under the board, but I would guess that it probably is. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is the 100 watt version of the amp. So there you have it. There's the insides of this amp, and you can see the year it was made. You can see that, you know, you've got all these stickers even on the preamp board. There's all of the inspection stickers, and they've all got the dates on them as well, which helps when you've got an amp of unknown origin. And sometimes the boards get swapped around over the years. I know I've swapped a few in some of my amps, just to get things working again. But yeah, there you have it. Great, so thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed getting inside the AH100 Series 6 amp. And my next video is going to be on this one, which is the GP7SM 350. So it's the AH350 SM. We'll have a look at this one and see what that is. I'll hopefully get that out in the next week or so, and then I'm going to make a couple of videos on some basses of mine. So I've got a couple of Rickenbackers that I think folks might find interesting, so we'll post a video on those. And yeah, I'll try and get back to making more regular content, so hopefully I will see some of you soon. Thanks for watching.